The rain fell softly on the glass roof of Nova 3 Medical Station, a floating hospital above the clouds of the blue planet Arena. Lights blinked like stars inside the giant metal structure, where humans and aliens worked side by side to heal the sick. Among the crowd of doctors and nurses walked a small human girl, Lena, only 9 years old. Her clothes were torn, her hair messy, and her tiny hands were shaking. She looked too young to be here, too lost to belong. But Lena had a reason to be there, a reason so strong that her small heart felt like breaking. Her mother was dying, not on Arena, but far away on the mining colony of Vexor 4, a dark, poisonous planet where humans lived under domes to survive. Her mother, Mira, had fallen ill from the dust storms, a strange infection that attacked the lungs. The colony doctors said only one medicine could save her, sci-fi, a rare drug made only in the hospitals of Arena. But the medicine was not for people like Lena. It was for citizens only, not for poor colonists. And certainly not for a child. So Lena had traveled here alone. She had hidden inside a cargo ship carrying food supplies. For 2 days she stayed silent among metal crates, breathing recycled air, praying no one would find her. When the ship landed, she slipped out, small and unseen like a shadow. Now she stood in the shining corridors of Nova 3, surrounded by tall aliens with silver skin and humans in clean white uniforms. She didn't belong, and she knew one mistake could mean arrest or worse, but she didn't care. Her mother was waiting, and she would do anything to save her. Inside the pharmacy chamber, shelves of glowing medicine pods stretched high to the ceiling. Machines hummed softly, scanning barcodes and checking data. Lena hid behind one of the shelves, her small eyes searching for the one name she had memorized from the doctor's note, sci-fi. There. A small container glowing faint blue, labeled in neat letters. She stepped closer, her heart pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear it. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the pod. It was cold and smooth like glass, pulsing gently with light. "Please forgive me," she whispered. "I swear I'll never do it again." "I did it for my mom." She slipped the pod into her pocket and then, "Hey, you there." A voice cut through the silence. A tall alien nurse with 4 shining eyes turned toward her. Lena froze. Her breath caught in her throat. "Stop," the nurse shouted, stepping closer. Lena ran. Her small feet slapped against the metal floor as alarms blared around her. Red lights flashed. Guards shouted. Robots activated from their charging docks. The entire floor came alive with sound and movement. "Unauthorized presence in Medical Zone C. Security to pharmacy block." Lena ran faster, clutching the pod tightly. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get out. Through the glowing corridors, past rooms where sick patients slept, past glass walls showing the planet below, endless blue clouds rolling like oceans. Her lungs burned. Her legs felt weak, but she couldn't stop. She turned a corner and hit something hard. A man in a black uniform stood there. His silver badge read Commander Raylan. A human officer, tall, strong, his eyes sharp but not unkind. He caught her before she fell. The medicine pod rolled out of her pocket and landed between them, glowing faintly. Raylan looked at it, then at the trembling girl. "What's this?" he asked quietly. Lena couldn't speak. Tears filled her eyes. He picked up the pod and read the label. "Sci-fi? Do you have any idea what this costs?" Lena nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "It's for my mom. She's dying." The officer's face softened down, but only for a second. "You stole government medicine," he said. "Do you know the punishment for that?" She looked down, shaking. "Please, I just wanted to save her. I'll never do it again." For a moment there was silence, only the rain tapping the window. Raylan sighed. "Where's your mother?" "On Vexor 4, I can take it to her." "Please don't take it away." The man looked at her. This small, desperate child who had crossed planets to steal medicine for her dying mother. He had seen smugglers, thieves, and liars, but this girl was different. Her fear was real. Her heart was pure. Before he could decide, another voice echoed through his comm link. "Commander Raylan, report. Did you catch the thief?" He looked at Lena again. Her eyes were red, full of tears and hope. "Yes," he said slowly. "I caught her." He turned off his comm, then whispered, "But maybe, not today." He hid the medicine pod in his jacket and looked around. "Follow me quietly." Lena blinked in surprise. "You're not arresting me?" Raylan shook his head. No, but you'll have to trust me. And before she could speak, he led her into a dark maintenance tunnel, away from the alarms and flashing lights. Somewhere deep inside the giant hospital, a secret path began. A path that would change not only Lena's life, but the fate of two worlds. The tunnel was narrow and cold. Pipes ran along the walls, hissing softly with steam. Lena followed Commander Raylan through the dim light, her heart still racing. She couldn't believe she was still free, that the officer hadn't handed her to security. Every few steps, Raylan turned back to check if anyone was following. His boots echoed quietly against the metal floor. "Stay close," he said in a low voice, "and don't make a sound." Lena nodded, clutching the edge of his jacket. Behind them, faint sirens still cried through the hospital. Security droids scanned corridors above, searching every corner for the thief who had stolen Seraph 9. They didn't know she was now walking right beside the man who was supposed to arrest her. After what felt like forever, they reached a small door at the end of the tunnel. Raylan pressed his hand against a scanner. The door slid open with a soft click. Inside was a small dark room filled with old medical equipment and dusty crates. It looked abandoned, forgotten by the hospital long ago. "You can rest here," Raylan said, switching on a dim lamp. "No one will find you." Lena hesitated. "Why are you helping me?" The commander looked away, his jaw tightening. "Because once, someone helped me too." He sat down on a metal crate and looked at her, not as an officer, but as a man who had seen too much pain. "When I was your age," he began slowly, "my little brother was sick. Same story. We lived on the lower decks of Earth's orbit station. The medicine he needed cost more than our whole home. I tried to steal it. Got caught. A doctor saved me and said he'd cover it, but he lost his job for helping me." Raylan's eyes darkened. "I never forgot that. And now seeing you, it feels like history repeating." Lena listened silently, her small hands folded around the corner of her coat. Her heart softened a little. This man, this stranger, understood her pain. "But I don't know how to get back," she said quietly. "My mom's waiting on Vexor 4. She's getting weaker every hour." Raylan thought for a long time. Then he stood and opened a storage box. Inside were several small vials, data pads, and old ID badges. He pulled out a communicator and a pilot's chip. "You can't travel through official routes," he said. "They'll scan your ID and arrest you, but there's a cargo transport leaving tonight. I know the captain. I can get you on board." Lena's eyes widened. "Really?" Raylan nodded. "But you'll need to promise me something." "What?" "That when you give your mother the medicine, you'll never come back here to steal again." Lena looked at the glowing pod in his hand. Seraph 9, her mother's only hope. She nodded quickly, tears in her eyes. "I swear, I'll never do it again. I did it for my mom." Raylan smiled faintly. "I know, kid. I know." Hours later, the lights outside the window faded as night fell over the floating hospital. Storm clouds rolled beneath them, flashing with distant lightning. Raylan led Lena through hidden maintenance routes, avoiding patrols and cameras. They moved like ghosts through the metallic maze. When they finally reached the cargo bay, the air was heavy with the smell of fuel and ozone. Giant ships waited silently, ready to launch into the endless sky. A gruff voice echoed nearby. "Commander Raylan, you're not supposed to be here this late." Lena froze. Raylan turned. A tall alien soldier with blue skin stood there. Lieutenant Zarn, his second in command. "I was checking the security status," Raylan said calmly. "I heard the thief might escape through the lower decks." Zarn's eyes narrowed. "And the thief? Did you find her?" Raylan paused for half a second. "Not yet." The alien stepped closer, studying him. "Strange. I thought I saw someone small walking beside you." Lena held her breath, hiding behind a metal crate. Raylan crossed his arms. "You're seeing shadows, Zarn. Get some rest." The alien hesitated, then finally nodded. "Fine, but I'll double the patrols." When he walked away, Raylan exhaled slowly. He turned to Lena. "That was close," she whispered. "Thank you." He led her toward the smallest cargo ship at the end of the bay, a rusty vessel with the name Star Sparrow painted on its side. Inside, the air smelled of metal and oil. A man with a long beard looked up from the cockpit. "Raylan, what brings you here?" "I need a favor, Cor," Raylan said. "There's a passenger who needs to go to Vexor 4 quietly. Kor frowned. You know the rules. Unlisted passengers. Raylan handed him a chip. This covers your fuel and more. The pilot's eyes widened. You're serious? Raylan nodded. She's just a kid. Her mother's dying. Kor sighed. All right, one seat. But she hides in the cargo hold. Raylan turned to Lena. This is it. When you land, go straight to your mother. Give her the medicine, and never forget why you did this. Lena looked up at him. Will I see you again? He smiled sadly. I hope not. That'll mean you're safe. She hugged him suddenly, a small, tight hug full of warmth and tears. Raylan froze for a moment, then gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Go, he said softly. As the ship's doors closed, Raylan stood alone in the cold light of the hangar. The engines roared and Star Sparrow lifted off into the storm. Through the window, Lena watched the commander's figure grow smaller until he disappeared behind the mist. She touched the pocket where the Seraph 9 pod glowed faintly. Thank you, she whispered. I'll save her. I promise. But far away, in the shadows above the hangar, Lieutenant Zarn stood watching, his eyes glowing faint blue. He had seen everything. He opened his communicator. Commander Raylan is hiding something, he said coldly, and I intend to find out what. The ship Star Sparrow glided through the dark sky, leaving the glowing lights of Nova 3 medical station behind. Inside the small cargo hold, Lena sat beside metal boxes, her knees pulled to her chest. The hum of the engines was steady, almost comforting. She looked out through a tiny window. The stars looked peaceful, like diamonds scattered across black velvet. For the first time in days, she could breathe. She was free. She had the medicine. Her mother would live, but far away, danger was already moving. Back on Nova 3, Commander Raylan stood in his office, staring at the empty space where the ship had vanished. He had done something unthinkable, helped a criminal escape. But deep down, he knew it wasn't wrong. She's just a child, he whispered to himself. She doesn't deserve to be punished for love. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The holographic screen on his desk flickered, showing the face of Lieutenant Zarn. The alien's cold blue eyes glowed in the dim light. Commander, Zarn said slowly, security reports the ship Star Sparrow left the dock without full inspection. Its flight plan was erased. Curious, isn't it? Raylan tried to stay calm. Cargo ships leave all the time. Maybe it was a system glitch. Zarn's lips curled into a thin smile. Perhaps. But I checked the surveillance feed. Someone in your uniform was seen near that ship before launch. Raylan's chest tightened. Are you accusing me? I'm only saying, Zarn replied, that if the medicine thief escaped, someone powerful helped her, and I will find out who. The screen went dark. Raylan leaned back in his chair, his pulse racing. He had to destroy the evidence before Zarn connected everything. If the council found out he had aided a fugitive, he'd lose his rank, maybe even his freedom. But part of him didn't care. He just hoped the girl was safe. Meanwhile, in the Star Sparrow, Lena felt the ship shaking. The old engines groaned as they entered the Draylen Belt, a region of floating rocks and metal debris. A shortcut through space, but a dangerous one. Captain Kor adjusted the controls. Hold tight, kid, he said. This part gets rough. Lena nodded, gripping the seat. Outside, massive asteroids drifted slowly, glowing from reflected starlight. The ship dodged between them, engines roaring, then suddenly a red light flashed on the control panel. Kor frowned. We're being scanned. Scanned by who? Lena asked, her voice trembling. He checked the radar. Security drones. From Nova 3. Lena's heart stopped. They're looking for me. Kor cursed under his breath. They shouldn't have found us this fast. He pulled a lever and the ship jolted forward, speeding deeper into the asteroid field. Rocks scraped against the hull as the ship zigzagged between debris. Behind them, silver drones appeared, sleek machines with glowing blue cores and rotating cannons. Unauthorized vessel, one of them announced through the comm. Prepare to be boarded. Not today, Kor growled. He fired the ship's boosters. Flames burst from the engines as Star Sparrow darted between asteroids. The drones followed, firing plasma bolts that streaked past like lightning. Lena screamed as one blast hit the tail of the ship. Sparks flew. We're hit, Kor shouted. Hold on. He turned sharply, diving under a large asteroid. The gravity pulse almost crushed them. Alarms blared. Another blast hit near the window, cracking it slightly. Lena covered her head, terrified. Core flipped a switch. Deploying counter-EMP. A pulse of blue light erupted from the ship, spreading through space. The nearest drones froze mid-air, their lights flickering out. Core grinned. That'll slow them down. But as the smoke cleared, one drone kept coming, and faster, stronger, bigger than the rest. Its hull bore a symbol. Nova 3 Command Unit, Raylan's unit. The drone locked on. Target identified: Lena Vexer, human juvenile. Stolen property detected. Prepare for capture. Lena's eyes widened. They know my name! Core cursed. We can't outrun it. He slammed his hand on a small panel. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was an escape pod barely big enough for one person. Get in, he said. What? No. Do it, kid. You're the reason they're chasing us. If they catch me, fine, but they can't catch you. Tears filled her eyes. What about you? He smiled sadly. Old pilots like me don't need second chances. But you still have one. He shoved the medicine pod into her hand. Save your mom. Before she could protest, he sealed the pod door and hit the release. The small capsule shot out into the black sky, spinning wildly. Lena screamed as she drifted away from the ship. Through the small window, she saw Star Sparrow turn to face the drone, and then explode in a burst of white light. Silence filled the pod. Lena pressed her hand to the glass, tears rolling down her cheeks. Captain Core. The stars around her blurred as the pod entered automatic mode, heading toward the nearest planet, Vexor 4. Back on Nova 3, Raylan watched the drone's feed with a blank face. He saw the explosion, the escaping pod, the data reading one life form detected. He closed his eyes, whispering, "She made it." But when he turned, Lieutenant Zarn was standing behind him. "Interesting," Zarn said coldly. "You look relieved, Commander." "Why is that?" Raylan's heart skipped a beat. "Just doing my duty." Zarn smiled thinly. "We'll see." He stepped closer. "You may hide your secrets from others, Raylan, but not from me. The Council has ordered an investigation. The thief's escape, the missing medicine, the destroyed cargo ship all point to one man." Raylan's face hardened. "Are you accusing your superior officer?" "I'm stating the truth," Zarn replied. "And when I find proof, I'll make sure you never wear that badge again." As Zarn walked away, Raylan looked out at the stars, the same stars that carried a small escape pod through the void. He whispered, "Run, little one. Run fast." Because the hunt had only just begun. The small escape pod cut through the gray clouds, shaking violently as it entered the poisonous atmosphere of Vexor 4. The planet below looked like a dying world, endless deserts of red dust, broken metal domes and storms that screamed across the horizon. Inside the pod, Lena gripped her seat, her knuckles white. The temperature gauge blinked red. Heat waves wrapped around the pod like fire. "Come on, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. The pod hit the surface hard, sliding through the sand before finally stopping. Smoke filled the air. Lena coughed, unbuckled herself, and pushed open the hatch. A blast of hot wind hit her face. The air smelled of metal and smoke. It burned her lungs, but she didn't care. She had made it. She was home. Far in the distance, beyond the orange fog, she saw the faint lights of Colony Dome 7, her home dome, where her mother waited. She held the small glowing vial of Seraph 9 against her chest. "Hold on, Mom, I'm coming." It took her hours to walk across the sand. Every step was heavy, her feet sinking in the dust. Robots scavenged among the ruins of old mining machines, their lights flickering. One of them turned its head as she passed, scanning her with a red beam. "Human miner detected. No ID signal found," it said in a broken voice. Lena ignored it and kept walking. By the time she reached the dome gates, her clothes were covered in dirt and her throat dry. The guards, tired miners in heavy suits, looked at her in shock. "Lena?" one of them said. "You've been gone for days. We thought you were dead." She tried to speak but only managed to whisper, "My mom, I need to see her." They opened the gates and let her through. Inside, the air was cooler but smelled of chemicals. The colony lights flickered weakly. People moved slowly, their faces pale, their bodies thin from lack of clean air. Lena ran through narrow corridors until she reached her small metal home. The door slid open with a squeak. Her mother, Mira, lay on the bed, her face pale, breathing weakly through a cracked oxygen mask. "Mom!" Lena cried, rushing to her side. Mira opened her eyes slowly. Lena, is it really you? Tears filled Lena's eyes. I brought it, Mom. I have the medicine. She took out the glowing pod of Seraph 9 and placed it gently on the table. The light reflected in Mira's eyes, a faint blue shimmer of hope. My brave girl, her mother whispered, her voice shaking. How did you? I'll tell you later. Please just take it now. Lena carefully connected the pod to the oxygen machine. The vapor spread through the air, glowing softly as her mother breathed it in. Minutes passed. The room stayed silent except for the soft hum of the machine. Then slowly Mira's breathing steadied. Her color returned bit by bit. Lena covered her mouth, tears of relief running down her cheeks. It's working. Her mother smiled weakly. You saved me. But their moment of peace didn't last long. A deep hum filled the air outside. The metal walls of the dome trembled. The ground shook. What's that? Lena asked, frightened. The guard from the gate burst into the house. Lena, there's a ship outside the dome, a military drone. It's scanning the colony. Lena's heart dropped. They found me. High above the dusty sky, a large drone hovered, its scanners glowing bright blue. Inside the control room of Nova 3, Lieutenant Zarn watched the live feed. There she is, he said coldly. The medicine thief. She's on Vexor 4. Commander Raylan, standing beside him, clenched his fists. You can't send soldiers there. That colony barely survives as it is. Zarn turned, his eyes hard. The Council's orders are clear. The medicine was stolen from government stores. Every dose must be accounted for, even if we have to destroy the colony to retrieve it. Raylan's voice rose. You'd kill innocent people? For one vial? They broke the law, Zarn said calmly. Laws are what separate us from chaos. Raylan glared at him. No, compassion does. He slammed his hand on the console, disabling Zarn's control for a moment. I'm going down there, Zarn grabbed his arm. You're making a mistake. Raylan pulled away. No, Lieutenant. I'm fixing one. Moments later, his ship launched from the hangar, cutting through the night sky toward Vexor 4. Inside the dome, Lena helped her mother sit up. Mom, we have to go. They're coming for us, Mira coughed. Go where, Lena? There's nowhere to hide. Before Lena could answer, a loud crash echoed outside. The sky above the dome lit up with fire as something broke through the atmosphere. A human ship. Lena ran to the window. Her eyes widened. It's him. The ship landed near the dome entrance. Commander Raylan stepped out, his face covered in dust, his uniform torn from the crash. Commander! Lena ran toward him. He smiled faintly. You made it. Thank the stars. But before he could say more, a shadow appeared behind him, a tall figure stepping out of another ship. Lieutenant Zarn. His blue eyes burned with anger. I told you this would end badly, Raylan. Lena froze, clutching the medicine pod tightly. Zarn raised his plasma weapon. Return the stolen property. The Council demands it. Raylan stepped in front of her. Over my dead body. The wind howled around them, red dust swirling like fire. The dome lights flickered as the two men faced each other, one bound by duty, the other by compassion. For a moment, the world held its breath, and then the first shot fired. The air outside Colony Dome 7 burned with static. Red dust swirled like smoke as the two men faced each other. Commander Raylan and Lieutenant Zarn. Both were soldiers. Both were trained to follow orders. But tonight only one followed his heart. Behind them, Lena stood clutching the glowing medicine pod. Her mother's voice echoed weakly from inside the dome. Lena, stay back! Raylan drew his pulse pistol slowly. You don't have to do this, Zarn. Zarn's cold eyes narrowed. You betrayed the galactic law. You aided a thief. You endangered the balance. You left me no choice. The storm grew stronger, lightning flashing above the red sands. The ground shook beneath their boots. Raylan took a step forward. She's a child. She only wanted to save her mother. Is that a crime? Zarn raised his weapon. The law does not care for emotions. Justice must be absolute. Raylan's voice hardened. Then maybe the law is broken. And then the night exploded. Zarn fired first. A beam of blue energy cut through the air, hitting a nearby wall and shattering it into burning shards. Raylan rolled aside, returning fire. Bolts of light tore through the dust. Lena screamed and ducked behind a pile of metal crates. The glowing medicine pod slipped from her hand, rolling into the sand. The sound of energy weapons echoed through the storm. The dome trembled from the shock waves. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Stop this! Lena shouted. Please. But neither man listened. Zarn charged forward, his mechanical armor glowing with power. He swung his plasma blade, slicing through the air. Raylan blocked it with his pulse shield, sparks flying as metal clashed. You always hesitated, Raylan? Zarn growled. You always let your heart cloud your duty. Raylan gritted his teeth. Maybe that's what makes me human. With a quick move, he hit the ground switch, blasting sand into Zarn's eyes. The alien stumbled back, roaring. Raylan used the moment to shoot, the blast hitting Zarn's shoulder. The alien dropped his weapon, kneeling in pain. Raylan rushed toward him, breathing heavily. It's over, but Zarn wasn't finished. He pressed a button on his chest plate, activating an emergency beacon. A blue hologram appeared above him, the Galactic Council's symbol. They're coming, Zarn hissed. They'll see what you've done. You'll lose everything. Raylan looked down at him, eyes full of anger and sadness. If saving one life means losing everything, then I'll gladly lose it. He turned toward Lena. Grab the medicine and run. But before Lena could move, the ground split open with a loud crack. A wave of red dust shot upward as a massive explosion ripped through the field. The shockwave threw them all backward. When the dust settled, half the dome had collapsed. Fire burned along the metal walls. Sparks flickered in the air. Mom! Lena screamed, rushing toward the broken entrance. Raylan grabbed her arm. Wait, it's not safe. I don't care, she cried, pulling free and running inside. Inside, smoke filled the small home. Lena coughed, waving her hands in front of her face. She found her mother under a collapsed beam, weak but alive. Mom. Hold on, Mira smiled faintly. You came back for me. Lena nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm not leaving you. Raylan appeared beside them, lifting the heavy beam with all his strength. We have to get out before the oxygen runs out. But outside, Zarn stood again, limping but alive. His weapon glowed dangerously. You can't run forever, Commander. You've doomed yourself. He aimed at the dome entrance, ready to fire. Raylan turned to Lena and her mother. Stay down. He stepped outside into the storm. The two men faced each other again, lightning flashing behind them. You can still turn yourself in, Zarn said. Say the girl tricked you. The council may show mercy. Raylan shook his head slowly. Mercy doesn't come from councils. It comes from people. Then he charged. They clashed in a storm of light and dust. Zarn's blade cut through Raylan's armor. But the commander didn't stop. He fired his pulse pistol point blank, hitting Zarn's core. The alien stumbled, sparks flying from his chest plate. Both men fell to their knees, smoke rising around them. You're a fool, Zarn whispered. Raylan smiled weakly. Maybe, but a fool who did what's right. With one last push, he slammed his fist into Zarn's control module, shutting down the alien's suit. Zarn fell motionless, the storm covering him in red dust. Raylan staggered toward the dome. His armor was cracked, his face pale. Lena ran to him. You're hurt, she cried. He knelt, placing a shaking hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, Lena, the council. They'll send more ships. You need to leave this planet, but take your mother and go north, he said, his voice fading. There's an old mining port there, Dock 9. There are people who'll help you. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Come with us, Raylan smiled faintly. I can't, they'll track me. But you can still live free. He handed her a small metal chip, glowing faint blue. This contains something more powerful than medicine. It's the data of every sick child in the colonies. Proof that the council has been hiding the cure. You must protect it. Lena held it tightly. I will. I promise. Raylan looked up at the burning sky. Good, because promises, they're what keep us human. And with that, he fell silent. Lena hugged him, crying into his armor. The storm howled outside, covering everything in dust and fire. Her mother's voice came weakly from behind. Lena, we have to go. Lena wiped her tears, looking at Raylan one last time. I'll never forget you. She turned, helping her mother out of the ruined dome. The wind blew hard, but in her hand the small chip glowed softly, like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Above the clouds, distant lights appeared, more ships entering the atmosphere. The council was coming, but the girl was already gone, running into the storm, carrying hope in her tiny hands. The storm on Vexor 4 had not ended. Red clouds rolled across the sky like waves of fire, and lightning flashed through the dust. Lena walked through the wasteland, half carrying her mother, Mira, whose breathing was slow and weak again. The glow from the small data chip in Lena's hand was their only light. Behind them, The wreckage of Colony Dome 7 faded into the storm. Commander Raylan's body lay buried beneath the sand, a silent promise in a dying world. Lena kept her eyes forward. She had to reach Dock 9, just like Raylan said. That was the only way out now. The long march for hours they walked, guided by the faint pulse of the data chip. Sometimes Lena thought she heard voices, whispers in the wind, but they were only echoes of memory. Her mother coughed again. "Lena, where are we going?" "To the port," Lena said softly. "We'll find help there. Raylan said there are people who still care." Mira smiled faintly, even through pain. "He saved us." Lena nodded, gripping the chip tighter. "He gave his life for this. It must be important." When the storm finally thinned, she saw the outline of Dock 9 ahead, a broken station built into the side of a canyon. Rusty ships rested like bones, their lights dim but alive. The smugglers' two figures stood near the entrance, their faces hidden by masks. They raised their weapons when they saw the girl and her mother. "Hold it right there," one of them said. "This area's restricted." Lena lifted her hands quickly. "Please, and we need help." "My mother's sick." The second one lowered his weapon a little. "She's just a kid, Drek." The first man sighed and stepped closer. "Fine, get inside before the drones spot you." They led Lena and Mira into a small shelter made of metal plates and old ship parts. Inside, the air smelled of oil and smoke. "You're lucky we found you," Drek said. "This place isn't safe. The council has been scanning the area for fugitives." Lena hesitated. "They're looking for me." Both men turned sharply. "You?" She nodded, pulling the glowing chip from her pocket. "Commander Raylan gave me this." He said it's proof that the council has been lying. The smugglers exchanged glances. One of them, a tall woman with sharp eyes, leaned closer. "Let me see that." She placed the chip into a small hollow projector. Instantly, blue light filled the room. A stream of files appeared, lists, names, and medical records. The woman's eyes widened. "By the stars." "What is it?" Lena asked. "These are infection logs, thousands of them," the woman whispered. "Children from the outer colonies. Every case labeled non-citizen, treatment denied." Drek clenched his fists. "The council's been letting them die." Lena felt her chest tighten. "They said Seraph 9 was rare. But it's not, is it?" The woman shook her head. "It's not rare. It's restricted. They only give it to citizens on core worlds. The colonies were meant to stay weak, dependent." Lena's hands trembled as the truth sank in. Raylan had died protecting this. The secret that proved her people's suffering wasn't fate. It was control. A choice to make the woman, who introduced herself as Captain Rhea, turn to Lena. "If we send this data to the galactic network, every world will see it. But once we do, the council will come for all of us." Lena looked at her mother, whose eyes were half closed. "If we don't, they'll keep doing this forever." Rhea studied the small girl, dirty, tired, yet burning with determination. "You remind me of someone," she said quietly. "Maybe we've been waiting for you." She looked at Drek. "Prep the transmitter." As the man left, Rhea knelt beside Lena. "Do you understand what this means? Once we upload this, there's no going back. They'll hunt you across the galaxy." Lena met her eyes. "I'm not afraid. Commander Raylan said promises keep us human. I promised him I'd protect this." Rhea smiled faintly. "Then let's keep that promise." The upload minutes later, the transmitter powered up. Blue lights danced across the console as the files began to upload into the galactic network. "Transmission started," Drek said. "We're live in 60 seconds, but outside alarms blared. The scanners picked up something huge approaching from orbit. Council destroyers." "They've found us," Rhea said. The ground shook as beams of light struck the canyon walls. Dust rained from the ceiling. "Keep it running," she shouted. Lena helped her mother to a corner, shielding her from the falling debris. "Hold on, Mom." Through the chaos, she saw the upload bar. 40%. 60%. 80%. Another explosion rocked the base. Drek fell, hit by falling metal. The console sparked, wires snapping. "Power's gone," Rhea yelled. "We need a backup core." Lena looked around desperately. Then she saw it. The glowing Seraph 9 pod still in her bag. She grabbed it and ran to the console. "This can power it." Rhea stared in disbelief. "That's medicine." "It's energy too," Lena said. "Raylan told me it was made from life energy. Maybe it can save more than one life." Without waiting, she connected the pod's energy line into the port. The system hummed, the lights flaring bright again. Transmission complete. Drek gasped, half-conscious. Rhea looked at the screen. Upload successful. Broadcast sent to all sectors. It was done. The truth was free. The price of truth outside. The destroyers fired one last time. A blast hit the canyon, sending fire and smoke into the air. Inside, everything shook apart. Rhea grabbed Lena and her mother, pulling them into a safety capsule. "Hold on," she shouted as the door sealed shut. Through the small window, Lena watched the base collapse in a storm of light. The ship launched upward, breaking through the clouds, leaving behind the burning remains of Dock 9. In the distance, the Galactic Council's broadcast towers flickered, and then across 1,000 worlds. The message spread: the Council has hidden the cure. The colonies were left to die. Billions saw it. Billions listened. And somewhere in the endless sky, a little girl watched the first rays of dawn break through the dust, knowing she had kept her promise. The night sky above Vexor 4 turned bright with fire. The Council's ships retreated, leaving behind nothing but ruins and silence. Inside a small escape craft drifting away from the burning world, Lena sat beside her mother, who was finally breathing softly. Captain Rhea and Drek were piloting the craft, their faces tired but calm. For the first time in days, Lena felt peace. The transmission had gone through. Every planet, every colony, every hidden corner of the galaxy now knew the truth. The Council's lies were no longer secret. The cure was never rare, it was hidden. Commander Raylan's sacrifice had not been in vain. The craft drifted past the gray edge of the planet into open space. Stars stretched endlessly ahead, silent witnesses to what had happened. Lena leaned her head against the glass, her small fingers still clutching the empty Seraph 9 pod. Its light had faded, but to her it still glowed with Raylan's promise. Rhea glanced back at her. "You did something no adult in this galaxy dared to do. You told the truth." Lena looked up, her eyes tired but determined. "It wasn't me. It was him. Commander Raylan. He believed people still cared." Rhea smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's time they start proving him right." Outside the window, comm signals began to fill the void. Voices of people from all over the galaxy. Angry voices. Grateful voices. Voices demanding justice. "This is Mining Colony 12. We confirm the files are real. Medical Station Theta has begun distributing Seraph 9 to all non-citizen zones. The Council has gone silent. Their fleets are retreating from outer systems." Lena listened, her heart racing. She didn't fully understand the power of what she had done, but she could feel it. Something had shifted. For the first time, the colonies were not silent. Humanity and alien alike were standing up, not as enemies, but as one. Mira, still weak, reached out and touched her daughter's cheek. "You changed everything, Lena." Lena shook her head gently. "I just wanted you to live." "And because of that," her mother whispered, "millions will." The ship's navigation system beeped. Rhea leaned forward. "Docking signal detected. Outer station EOS. We can rest there for repairs." Drek adjusted the controls, guiding the craft toward a small station orbiting a blue moon. Unlike the cold metal cities of the Council, this place looked alive, covered in green lights and glass domes filled with plants. Refugees had already begun to gather there. When the ship landed, the station doors opened to a crowd of people. Some were humans from mining colonies, others were aliens from the outer rings. All of them had heard the transmission. They stared at Lena as if seeing a hero. Rhea whispered, "They know who you are." Lena stepped forward nervously. A small alien child ran up to her, holding a flower made of light. "You saved my sister," the child said. "She was sick, but they gave her the medicine today." Lena took the flower, her eyes filling with tears. "I just did what anyone should do." Rhea placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, you did what most couldn't." A man approached from the crowd, an older scientist, his white coat stained with dust. "We've started reproducing Seraph 9 using the formula from your broadcast. It's spreading faster than the Council can stop it." "Will they come back?" Lena asked quietly. The man nodded. "They might. But now the galaxy knows their truth. Even if they destroy our ships, they can't destroy what's inside people's hearts." That night, the refugees gathered in the open hall of the station. News played on hollow screens. Worlds once divided, now uniting. Citizens demanding freedom for the colonies, the council losing control. Some said the leaders had fled their capital. Others claimed they were negotiating peace. Lena sat beside her mother, watching the flickering lights. Rhea walked over with a blanket and placed it gently around her shoulders. You should rest. The next fight belongs to the grown-ups. Lena smiled softly. Then promise me something. Anything. Don't forget him. Commander Raylan. Don't let people forget what he did. Rhea nodded, her voice low. I promise. His story will be told. Lena gazed out the window again. In the darkness of space, the red dust of Vexor 4 was still visible, glowing faintly like a dying ember. Yet somewhere beyond it, the stars looked brighter, as if the universe itself had taken a breath of hope. Days passed. The movement grew. Ships from dozens of worlds joined together, carrying medicine, supplies, and messages of peace. For the first time in history, humans and aliens worked side by side not because of fear, but because of compassion. Lena spent her days helping the doctors distribute Seraph 9 on the station. Sometimes, when she walked through the medical bay, she thought she saw Raylan's reflection in the glass, a faint smile, a silent nod, a reminder that promises never die. One evening, as she looked out at the stars, her mother came beside her. Do you miss him? Lena nodded. Every day. Mira took her hand gently. He would be proud of you. Lena smiled through her tears. I just wish I could tell him. A soft beep came from her pocket. She pulled out the old chip Raylan had given her. Its blue light flickered, then formed a small hologram. Raylan's face appeared, recorded before his final mission. If you're watching this, his voice said, then you made it. I knew you would. Remember, Lena, heroes are not born. They are made by their choices. And yours will light the way for others. The hologram faded. Lena held the chip close to her heart, whispering, I kept my promise. Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever, spreading across the sky like seeds of hope. The galaxy was changing, slowly, painfully, beautifully. And in that vast silence, a little girl from a dying world had become the voice that awakened millions. The fire of injustice had burned for years. But now a new dawn had begun, born not from power but from love, courage, and one child's unbreakable promise. The galaxy would remember her name. The girl who stole a medicine and healed the stars.